All right. Good morning, good afternoon, power hitters, solar warrior tribe, and friends of power. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. My name is Jarrett McAllister, your mentor and the virtual solar pro, here with my friends, my guest, here on today's Tuesday training with the power hitters and solar warrior tribe team. We have an incredible training for you today with the great Paul Leone, who's going to be teaching us on electrical panels, upgrading them, how to avoid the upgrades. It's going to be an awesome high-level training, so get ready for this. With that being said, though, we are going to start off this week's training like we do every week with a quote from Tom. Who put this in there? Oh man, that isn't right. That wasn't me. I promise you, that was not me. I don't have that kind of skill.
Jared, what's brown and sounds like a bell? Come on.
No.
Dung.
I don't. Dung. Oh,
sorry, that's what you get when you use that stupid.
Third grade, dude. Right on.
So here's what I really wanted to share. So what we're doing every day with home solar was just announced yesterday in a report that came out as $1 trillion market, which is now equal to and overtaking the oil and gas industry. $1 trillion is a big number that we throw around. $1 trillion is 1 million million and has 12 zeros. So if you owned $1 trillion and spent $1 million each day, it would take you just over 2,740 years to spend it all. That's how big that number is. The point is, the solar industry is big, and we are with power in the right place at the right time. So I'm going to post a link to this in the chat, but I wanted to share this information. It's a Time magazine article, and you should be talking about this with your team, with the people that you are referring to the platform, and even prospects and homeowners, because people are going solar, people are moving towards clean energy. Right time, right place, everybody.
Amen. Right on for that, Tom. Yeah, they are investing tons of coin into renewable energy, and you guys are at the right place at the right time. I mean, such an incredible opportunity that we have here. So thank you for sharing that, Tom. And like you said, the article is in the chat. You went ahead and shared. Well, let's get into this. This is one of my favorite parts of every single week, some success stories. So if you had some success from last week, you got, a sale that, don't just tell us about the sale, what you have to do to overcome it. If you have some adversity, that always helps somebody out. You have a new team member, a great win. Go ahead and share it. Anthony, I saw your hand up first. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, Jerry. Good morning. I'm doing great.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Samuel Rivas from Southern California. He just became a tier 3 mentor with our team. Just a little bit how it all happened. Back in 2020, my wife's cousin, Jonathan Brunasso, who's also a mentor, he was a client first with me at Power. Then he became an ambassador, became a consultant, became a mentor, and then his client, Samuel Rivas, now became a mentor as well. So you guys share the program with everyone. And that's it for me. I'm excited to learn from Paul Leone today.
Right on, man. Great job with that. And that's why we have so many new mentors in the mentor group, that Anthony just keeps filling them up. And for you guys, that's the secret to success with this company, is get as many mentors on your team as possible, because you end up with 5. I mean, imagine if you just had 5 mentors crushing it, right? That passive, really nice. What about if you have 10? Go for 20, 50 could be the goal, right? 50 frontline mentors. Huge rev share opportunity there. So great job, Anthony, continuing to grow and build your team like always. Chaz, what's up, homie? I see you, man.
What's up, Jared? Good to see you, man.
Good. I like your background.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like yours too.
That salt rock is glowing enzymes and ions, and it looks good.
It's definitely vibing. I just wanted to share a win. I sort of shifted my focus a little bit after San Diego to partnering more with local businesses here in the Philadelphia area. So I got like a warm welcome with an HVAC partner that we officially onboarded within the past week or so. But after I onboarded them, we went through their CRM and they had 1,600 clients that they've happily served over the past few years. So we got the clients out of their CRM and we put it up into a high-level instance, and we're running automated marketing campaigns to those clients. And we've already gotten 11 bills just in the past 3 days. So, and that was cost nothing, right? So I just wanted to like reiterate the importance of like building these local relationships with business, especially as solar is going to be booming and people are adding solar to their business, like HVAC partners, a lot of HVAC companies going HVAC and solar. So excited to have you.
Dude, thank you for sharing that, man. That's a killer win. Yeah, great opportunity. There's so many verticals going on, right? So HVAC, partnering with roofers, real estate agents, mortgage brokers. How about a landscape guy, right? I just partnered with somebody from Leaf Filter. What are they doing? They're going on roofs. They're checking out people's gutters. People are investing into their home. So, I mean, the possibilities truly are endless. And right now it's your guys' opportunity. Plant your flags and stake your claim right now. So great job. Thanks for sharing that, Chaz. Does anybody else have a success story that they would like to share? No. Okay,
I got one here.
Okay. All right, Ray. What's up, brother?
I have a friend that's putting in a system. He's been fighting another solar company. It was Solar Pro ADT. He got jerked around for about 16 months, still has no system. They weren't authorized to install in that area with building permits and business licenses, etc. He was very patient. Long story short, he finally said, it's time, Ray, give me a hand. I told him what we could do. He went in, he canceled the contract last week, and we got him up and running. And I just got a text from my mentor. Shout out to Eric Goldstein. And we're doing a site survey next week, but we're all good to go. Things are going to happen. And it's a 17.5 kilowatt system.
Great job, Ray. No, that's killer. ADT Solar just doesn't sound right. I sold ADT for 20 years. And whenever getting into a solar game, sounds good. Who doesn't want to get to the solar game? But yeah, I've heard it's not been that great of a show. So way to steal that job. And I can't tell you how many jobs I've taken over from other companies, them not doing their thing. Here at Power, we are so blessed and lucky to have multiple different panel options, right? 2 different types of inverters, all the different financing options, most competitive pricing. It's easy to win these deals from competition. So great job, Ray. Thank you for sharing that with us. Bill, we'll go with you.
Yeah, well, I just said it to begin with here that Craig Bloom and I closed a deal prior to this meeting, and we had to rush the guy so we could get onto this meeting. How about that? Excuse us. We got to get these papers signed so we can get on to our meeting. 19.2 kilowatts in some place in Maryland, but not a bad deal.
Not a way to start off a Tuesday, son.
That's right. Remember, you can use the Power Hitters Solar Warrior Tribe meeting as your reason for having to rush a customer into a
sense of urgency, right?
19.2 kilowatt system. Yes.
Yeah, a sense of urgency is how you close deals, right? You have to have some sense of urgency. Just tell them, hey, I got to get to my Power Hitters training. If you could just sign this here, we can move on.
I have to get to my Solar Warrior Tribe training, but you can get to your Power Hitters training. We might as well do it together, right?
All one, baby, all one.
That's right.
Great job, Bill. All right, I thought we were going to move on, but we got a couple more people. We got Doug and then Jordan, then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, Doug. What's up?
Hi, everybody, Doug, EcoSolar. By the way, y'all, 1 trillion seconds is 31,500 years. Okay, I got a 15.6 in Danville with 2 10 kilowatt hour in-phase batteries. And I also just went through the new Solar Power World magazine that's got the top many hundreds of solar contractors in the country. And we have way more installs than many of the contractors on there, but we're not listed. So let's get on it.
Right on.
We should be in that book.
That's a crazy stat, though. How many years is 1 trillion seconds?
31,500, give or take a few months.
Who's counting? Right on. Cool. Jordan, The expansion king. Dude, can I just show you some love, bro? I saw your numbers, bro. What are you, 17, 18 on the month, just crushing it?
Yeah, we had two
full advantage of this NEM 3.0 push right now, dude. Shower some knowledge with us. I don't know if we have time for all of those wins, but just your top ones.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be honest with you right now. Like, I just had another 2 close yesterday. I had a client that wanted to do it with the Solar Edge battery. Did an expansion. I think it was north of an 8 kilowatt system. Yeah. And then with the expansion on that, so with the battery, he was debating whether he wanted to do the battery or not, like now or later, and we're doing it. And just had one of my neighbors up the street, never even jumped on a Zoom, but we had talked like way last year, and his pool got done. I dripped on his wife, say, hey, you guys want to cycle back? Like, it was a couple of weeks ago. I sent it. It's like, you want to cycle back on the solar before it's too late? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere on Saturday, he just goes, hey, yeah, we're ready to go. Like, how much is 8 to 10 panels? I'm like, probably about $100 a month for 10. He's like, oh, we can do that. Designed it real quick, sent it over to him. He signed his docs on Monday, that type of stuff. Like, that is just urgency. Like, I get calls right now, and I act like I'm too busy to take the calls, which is a reality. I say, I'm like helping so many people right now. Like, hey, this is what I need from you. Here's my, I text him my stuff. It's like, this is what I need in order to get a proposal for you, then book on my calendar. I'm booking out right now, or I'm going to like link you up with one of my partners to get this thing done. So I said, well, we want to get ahead of this. So that driving that urgency right now is huge. This is January, and this has been the biggest month I've ever had in terms of personal sales in January. Wow. What the heck? and I have neglected sending an email out to all the other people that have vanished. Like, I haven't even done that yet, and I'm almost scared to do it, but I'm going to do that in February and just be like, just drip on them saying countdown, countdown, countdown. So, oh man, I just wanted to say that, man. I am stoked. And you know what? There's going to be a future after NEM 3. We're just going to make more money with batteries. It's going to be a solution selling, right? It's not going to be like quick stuff, but that's okay. Like, we're going to do it, but you better believe I'm freaking riding the wave right now while I can. And everybody should be doing it too.
Jordan, thank you, my man. You are inspiration. You're an inspiration to me right now, because those are crazy numbers. You're absolutely crushing it. I know the feeling about being a little bit scared of sending out that blast, because like you, I'm slammed. I'm doing 2-3 appointments a day. I'm getting 2 to 3 calls a day. People are saying, hey, they're wanting to go solar. I did like 6-7 deals this past week alone. And my calendar's booked. I'm booking out 2-3. I'm like, I can't do an appointment for you for like 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said. Like, I'm booked out for this week. Like, let's go ahead and get it on the calendar. That's what I said. And I'm with you. It's one of those. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's crazy what's going to happen here. So yeah. Oh, and I'm with you. I'm not done yet. That's 17. I got 3 more appointments today. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it 20.
Right on. Let's do it, man. Crush it, man. Great job, Jordan. Appreciate you sharing all those wins. And then, hey, I just want to give a shout out to Winston, my man out there in the UK. What's up, brother?
How's it going, mate? How you doing?
I'm good. Hey, man, just looking forward to you being on the team, and let's crush it, all right?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, really excited to smash it hard.
Absolutely. Freaking smash it way hard. All right. All right, let's jump on. So quick, I'm going to go quick because I do want to we have incredible training today. As you know, we have tons of training with Power, world-class training. One of the huge advantages of being with Power, right? Every Monday, 10 a.m., JC Rangel's got training. Obviously, we have our Power Hitters Warrior Tribe training on Tuesdays, 10 o'clock. On Wednesday, we have training with Rachel, right? And she's going to be doing a training on PPAs and leases. Word is they might be a little bit more beneficial moving forward in NEM 3.0. Thursday, 9:30 a.m., Melissa Dawson does enterprise training. Then we have Women of Power who do their training at 10 a.m. Power on onboarding. So brand new reps, right? You just joined the platform. Get on there at 12 o'clock on Thursday. Friday, every single Friday, building with Bobby for those that want to build a team. And then next Tuesday, we're going to be doing lease training with Sonova. So they're going to be coming on and being our special guests. you can check out most of these trainings, if not all, on powercalendar.com. And then make sure you guys block off your calendars for virtual Power World. This is March 3rd and 4th. This is, basically State of the Union. Company gets together. It's a 2-day event, virtual, all day. Keynote speakers. They're going to be making announcements and features on the CRM and what panels, financing products, all that. Do not miss this. And it's free, you guys. It's covered in our subscription. So world-class training, March 3rd and 4th. And SolarCon is coming up. And if you have not gotten your tickets, and if you want to go, I do believe we have a 50% off code with Power Up. One last thing is Jordan, you can see what he's doing, taking advantage of the NEM 3.0 push like we all are. Get out there. There's tons of tools. The NEM 3.0 toolkit just dropped. I don't know if you guys saw that in your email. When you log in, it's first thing right there. Click on that. There are email templates for potential clients, email templates for clients that are sitting on the fence. There's tons of graphics, stuff for your YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram reels, all that stuff. They really did a great job putting that all together. So take advantage of the tools, start generating some leads, let's close some sales. So, and then NEM 3.0, as you guys know, just quickly, it kicks in April 15th. So we need to get these applications in there. And then once they do, they'll be grandfathered. All right, now we got all that out of the way. I am super, super duper excited to bring on this, our host, our guest. Paul Leone is the solar ninja. I met him when I first came into solar. He is a master of his craft. He's been doing this longer than my kids have been alive. He's done like thousands of systems. I heard the story when Brunasso first got into solar. Paul Leone was speaking at the front of the class and was doing a training. Paul, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It is. And what company was this?
This was Tesla, Solar City, Tesla.
Solar City, Tesla, back in the day, man. Yeah, no, so
way back in the day.
Way back in the day. What panels were those back in the day you guys were slaying? Were those some 215s?
250s, 250, 260, I think.
Oh, okay. All right, 250s. Yeah, so anyways, he's coming on here. We really want to provide like value with these trainings, and something that even I'm like, hey, this is where could I upgrade my knowledge at, right? How can I get better? It's the electrical side of this stuff. I sell virtually. I've sold over 100 deals. I've never even been in somebody's home, right? So I'm not out there looking at their electrical panels. I'm really counting on the site survey, then bringing back the information. But you can become a solar ninja like Paul when you know what you're talking about, right? When you can say, hey, text me a picture of that inside of your panel. Let me see what the bus rating is. Oh, let me make sure I didn't put too many panels on so we can avoid a main panel upgrade, which could delay the project, a month or two. So he's, gracious enough to share his time and do a great training for us and kind of teach you guys how to do that. And then we're going to follow it up with Chris Brunasso, put together a spreadsheet that we'll share with you guys all, where you could just enter and plug in the numbers, what kind of panel it is, what kind of inverter you're using. Do we need to avoid it? Do we need to upgrade it? So with that being said, let me give you the ability to share your screen. And I'll hit stop share. All right, Paul, go ahead and take it away, brother.
All right. Yeah, thanks for the nice words. Hey, just on the net metering 3 thing in California. So I've done the numbers already. I think the Sonova lease is going to be what we do because they warrant the batteries for 25 years. So they'll replace the battery, which only has a 10-year warranty for that time frame. And the payment actually works out a little bit less than a purchase of the same thing with only the 10-year warranty. So I think that the Sonova lease is going to be a real big thing going forward. It's going to go back to like 7-8 years ago where there was no solar financing. All it was lease. It was lease or $50,000 cash and your warranty sucked. So it's just going to kind of be going back again. So we'll see how it works out. It'll be exciting.
and I'm sure as time goes on and more batteries become more and more popular, there's going to be more third-party extended warranties for batteries and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, so this is mostly the same training that I did for power like about 2 years ago. So if you ever want to YouTube Paul Leon power main panel upgrade training, you can see that. It was pretty in depth. Then you get to see some really other cool speakers that same day as well. I actually sold a deal off of that job because a customer was Googling how to upgrade an electric panel, and he watched me do that, and I made $7,000. So have to thank Jonathan Brunasso for setting that up, man. It was awesome. So as most of us know, you know, we tie into an electric panel when we do solar. So if you don't address it up front, don't have your customer take pictures and send it to you, don't know how to size it right, you can literally be hit with $3,000 to $5,000 in added cost later. And at least in our neck of the woods, if you're in San Diego, it can delay your solar project 4 or 5 months. It's a joke. So if you can prepare people up front by knowing whether or not you need to do this, it's going to be a really important thing. So let's take a look at the main thing that we're trying to determine is, do we have enough where our solar can backfeed safely into the grid? Basically, backfeeding is just a reversal of the power. So the power from the system going back to the grid. And that's the whole thing that we need to find out. What's doing the backfeed, and this will help you like when you want to sound smarter than your competition, is the inverters are backfeeding. So we have 1.5 inverters that we use at power. We use Enphase, which is one whole inverter. And then we use Solar Edge, which is like half an inverter. And you should only use it if it's necessary. Just my 2 cents on it. Anyhow, sorry guys. If that offended anybody, it's okay, because I'm right. You'll save yourself headache later. So generally, electric panels come in 2 sizes, 100 amp and 200 amp panels. And then for the bigger homes, there's 400 amp panels. Or I just sold a system yesterday that was 26 kilowatts on a 6,000 square foot home. They had a 600 amp panel. So in a perfect world, you're able to see the bus bar rating. And that's kind of the key to figuring it out. When it all said and done, it's a math equation. And there's going to be a page I show you in a second that you can take a picture of or whatever, and just keep it. And that's the equation that you need for happiness and to make sure that you're okay with everything. So long story short, on an electric panel, you have 2 sides. You have the front side like this, which you see, and then you have the back side. The back side is called a bus bar. Both of those have separate rating numbers, or how big they are. So the main panel, you're going to see, hold on here. So you're going to see your main breaker, okay? So that shows you the size of the front of the panel. Where you're going to see the bus bar rating is right here. So if they have a label, this is the most important part. It's on the upper left-hand side of every label. And this is whether it's a main panel or a sub panel, or you can see that little picture up there. It's that left-hand side right up there. So this one's 150 amp bus bar. This one's a 200 amp bus bar. That one we can't see there. So this is the main page that you're going to want to take a picture of. And it's not rocket science math. It's real easy math. Okay. So you need to find out the size of the back of the panel. That's the bus. We multiply that by 120%. And then from that number, you subtract the main breaker size. And that gives you the allowable backfeed, as we call it. So for example, if you see, let's go back here. So let's say that number was 125 amps right there, or right over here. And then your main breaker was 100 amps, so smaller panel, like a lot of us have seen. It's 125 amp for the back side, 100 amp for the front side. So it's 125 times 120% minus 100 amps. So it's 150 minus 100 equals 50 amps of allowable backfeed. If you can learn this 30-second equation, you will save yourself so many headaches in the future, so much time in the future, and you'll make yourself sound a lot better than the rookie solar person that works for Sunrun that comes in and says, yeah, it should be fine, or no, it's old, we need to upgrade it. It doesn't have anything to do with being old normally, doesn't have anything to do with being big. This is the math equation that's important. So a smaller one right here, or another example, if we have a 200 amp bus, so like this one right here, where the backside is 200 amps, and then we have a 200 amp main breaker like this one, it's 200 times 120% minus 200 amps. So 240 minus 200 equals 40 amps of allowable backfeed. Now, here's a common misconception. This is a 200 amp panel. This is a 100 amp panel. We can fit a bigger system on this panel than we can on this panel, because the bigger the system, the bigger amps, the more amps it's pushing back to the grid. So when I see 125 amp bus rating and 100 amp main, I'm normally in the gold. You got to do a pretty big system for that not to work. All right. So real quick, let's pick on somebody here. So don't have your finger in your nose, because I'm going to see you, because I'm looking, and have your calculator ready if you want one. So we're going to take the expansion king himself, Mr. Jordan Shaw.
Yes.
What's up, buddy? Dude, this has been a really busy January. You're right, by the way. And
it has been.
I have a list of 1,000 customers to send the, hey, solar's going away in 2 months, so do it. And I haven't sent it because I'm scared.
Scared. Yeah, let me book you out for 4 weeks.
Sure. All right. So Jordan, let's see here. Hold on a second. Let me get out of here.
I didn't realize I was signing up for doing math this morning.
That's all right, man. It's not rocket science. So if I have a 150 amp bus, okay, hold on a second. Let me do this so I can do the math right here. Sorry, guys, I should have had this open. All right, so I have a 150 amp bus, and I have a 125 amp main breaker. What's the math? Walk me through it.
Oh gosh, so I have a cheat guide too.
That's what you got to do.
55.
Is that Jordan?
That wasn't me.
You remember that time in school when the teacher would ask your neighbor what the question was, and then you would answer for your neighbor, and then the teacher would say, "Is your name Jordan?"
So I have a IQ8 like cheat guide that put in like max panels based on inverter and based on the amperage in the bus. So that's how I cheat.
Okay,
so
let's just walk through the math equation.
Go through the math with me, man. I didn't know I was going to have to do math this morning. You're embarrassing me. It's all recorded. It's on the web now. Thanks.
So it's real easy. It's 125.
It's 120%, right?
Yeah. Times 120%. So what's that? 175?
180.
180. Okay. And then we have 125 amp main.
So you subtract that from the bus ring.
Gotcha. Minus the 100. Okay. Yeah. 101.2x times 150. Gotcha. Minus the 125 gives you a 55 amp backfeed. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So quick show. Does everybody understand that math? Is that pretty easy? Anybody struggling with that or need it broken down any farther?
Well, now that since I watched the video from like 3 years ago, and now I'm watching it again, now it's sinking in 3 years later. So appreciate this, Paul.
Cool. Anybody else? I don't see any hands or anything like that.
Oh,
so.
I've got a question for you. So it makes no difference how many, different, I guess, sockets in the main panel they're using. Has nothing to do with it. It's just this equation.
Correct. Yeah. So what'll happen a lot of times is a customer will call you and say, oh, I think I need a panel upgrade because my breakers are all full or something like that. So and this is this training a little bit, but you're correct. That doesn't really matter. What we would do in that case, what you can tell the customers, oh, that's okay. That doesn't really matter. We can always do a small sub panel if we need to, or you can take a couple breakers and join them up and then give yourself some more breaker space to do what you need to do. We'll never, unless the panel's messed up or something, I've never seen a panel upgrade because of breaker space.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. So,
on that, Paul, how many breakers does it cost or does it take to install a solar system?
Well, that's a question you'll get, but it's not really a question that's important, or it doesn't really work like that all the way. Basically, like if you have 50 amps of backfeed, they're going to install a 50 amp breaker. Or if you have 42 amps of backfeed, they're going to install a 50 amp breaker. Or if you have 55 amps of backfeed, they're going to install a 60 amp breaker. Normally, when they install breakers, they do it 30, 40, 50, 60. Every once in a while at 80, if you're like doing a real big system or something like that.
So you could install a 50 amp breaker on 40 amp backfeed?
Well, I'm saying it'll do whatever the backfeed allows. So if you're doing above 40 amps of backfeed, but you can't do that because
you can't do a 40 on a 42. You have to do a 50 because it goes up to it. I got you. I understood.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but if it was 39, then you could do a 40.
Correct.
Or go up to 40. Okay, understood.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So that's the first side of the equation. So the second side of the equation is what is the amperage that you need for the solar system that you're doing. And the cheat sheet that Chris has at the end is going to make it easier because it just kind of lays it out. But if you want to be able to do the math, which is also pretty hard, pretty simple, what you need is the output, the continuous output rating from the inverter itself or from the microinverters themselves. So for electrical code, you find out the output current of the inverter, then you have to multiply it by 125%. So this is a little outdated because of the IQ7, but you would find that information on the spec sheet for the inverter you want. So for SolarEdge, for example, you can look up the SolarEdge HD Wave inverter spec sheet. And this line right here is what you care about. And then you multiply these numbers times 125%. So just a quick example, let's say that you have a 6,000 watt system or 6 kilowatt system. So you're going to use, let's just say a 6,000 watt inverter. So a 6,000 watt inverter has 25 amps of backfeed that you have to multiply by 125%. So I think that kicks it up to like 32 amps or something like that. Yeah, like 32 amps. So your panel would need to support 32 amps. So basically you would need 40 amps of available backfeed in that scenario. So long story short, this is the line you need to know. Then you multiply that by 125%. And that's for SolarEdge. Does that make sense for everybody? Anybody confused by that?
So just to, go over that again. So basically, whatever the continuous amps from your system that you're pushing, you multiply that by 125%. And then that needs to fit within your backfeed.
Allowed backfeed.
the allowed back feed. It can't go over by 1. It can go up to the max. It can be even.
Correct. It can't go over by 1, like,
okay,
which sucks. So remove a panel or something like that.
Sure.
So with Enphase, if you go to the Enphase website, and the IQ8 Plus and the IQ8M are what we're normally using. So here are your inverter backfeed amps right here. But remember, this is for 1. So let's say that we have, oops, hold on. Dude, how do I move this thing? Hold on, guys, sorry. So let's say that you have a IQM. It's got 1.35 amps of backfeed. So you have to do 1.35 times 125%. So one IQM has backfeed of about 1.7 kilowatts.
So then you multiply that by, like, let's say you had 27 panels.
Correct. So
now you would need a 50 amp backfeed.
Correct.
50 amps for backfeed. Okay.
So this is why sometimes they'll say, well, hey, instead of that, why don't you downsize it to IQ Plus? Because IQ Plus pushes back less. So now, as you can see from here, it's 1.21 amps per IQ Plus. So it's 1.21 times 1.25. So it's about 152 for every inverter. So the same times 27. Now you have 41. So
and then if you had a 40 amp backfeed, then maybe you drop it to 26 panels, and now you avoid an MPU.
Correct. Exactly like that.
Sweet.
Yeah. So basically what you need is the inverter backfeed of the specific inverter you're going to use, whether it be Solar Edge or whether it be Enphase, and then you can do your math. So if you want to take a snapshot of this, this also walks you through simple math equations for some of them. When I did this one, IQ7 was what we had. So that's what we used at the time. That's also why they say Solar Edge can help you avoid a panel upgrade sometime. Switching between IQ Plus and Solar Edge kind of accomplishes the same thing, but you can probably fit one more panel on a smaller Solar Edge inverter than you could with Enphase. You just have to watch out for something called clipping, which basically means you're limiting how much output your system can have. Yeah, so if you want to take this picture, that's cool. And then when I had done this live, we did a thing, and you talk about being nervous. There was like 500 people on that. So I called on people, man. They were like back in 4th grade again. They couldn't do that for the life of them, man.
Okay, and I don't know if you're going to get into this, but can we talk about like some solutions? So in the sense, like, okay, what if we need, I don't want to do a whole main panel upgrade. What is there? You hear the term derate, right? Can we derate a panel? What does that mean to derate a panel? How does that help you?
No, got all that stuff right here. Okay. All right. So just real quick, the math is 99% of why you're going to need a panel upgrade. Literally 99%. If you see an old panel, if it looks real rickety, 99% of the times that doesn't mean jack squat. It's the math. But if you want to take a picture of this one, this is also a couple things to look out for as well. And some things to look out for if you know you need a panel upgrade. So again, going back to California, a panel that's close to a gas meter within a couple feet, normally if you do an upgrade, you're going to have to move the panel, and that can add $1,000 or $2,000. Unless it's TAC Electric, they may charge $10,000 because I hate them and they do that shit. Sorry. Also, same thing, if you got bushes right there, I got to go pull out a bush for a guy because it's blocking his panel that we have to upgrade. This happens sometimes too, especially in older neighborhoods with underground service. if they have a 100 amp panel and you're going to upgrade it to 200, the service cables coming from the grid to the house may not be able to accommodate that. In my experience, San Diego sometimes has this issue. So you got to look out for this. So this just might be some things to look at if you know you need a panel. Don't worry about that too much. Don't worry about that too much. All right. So here's some workarounds. The first is called a D-rate. And that's what Jared was talking about. So let's say that someone has a 200 amp main breaker, but the bus rating is only 200 amps also. So they only have 40 amps of backfeed. Well, if you drop that main breaker down to 175, like literally they change it. So now you have 200 of a bus times 120 minus 175. Well, now you just got yourself a really big system simply by making the main breaker go from 200 amps to 175 amps. So that's normally the easiest workaround. Has anybody on this call ever had a problem doing that before?
Hey, Paul. Yeah. So I actually, and this came up, and you've seen probably this on the mentor chat specifically, like doing a D-rates, not something that they're like in Marietta. I've been having problems with that. They said, nope, you got to go ahead and you got to go to the next level. So I got hit with like 3 different occurrences where it used to be fine, but because of the 120 rule, they basically, Marietta, after a couple of months said, nope, you got to go ahead and upgrade the main panel. You know, did not even do that on the front end. And so even the D-rate wasn't where it normally would have been fine, even 150 amp. Like they said, no go. But I think it's because I was talking to my last one with TAC specifically, and they said, yeah, because it was 120 bus. So that makes a little bit more sense. Well, I'm glad you were talking about the D-rate though, because I was going to ask you, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but D-rates are probably going to be more and more advantageous as we put batteries in too, because that's what I have in my house. I have 8 kilowatts of solar plus 10 kW worth of power output of batteries. And we derated my main panel to 150 from its native 200. So I was wondering if you were going to hit on that. So
sure, no, yeah, that's definitely going to be it, because the battery also backfeeds. And if I'm right, one battery, I think it pushes back 20 amps of power per battery, at least for an Enphase battery. Enphase has a workaround with their Enphase switch, which you don't necessarily need to remember this, but an Enphase switch has 2 sides, and you can put 80 amps into each side. So you can put 160 amps total, but it only feeds back 80 to the grid. So I was able to do a 4 battery system with 16 kilowatt panels and use that and have it work fine without having to do a D-rate and all that stuff. Or you might have D-rated that to 175. But so going from what Jordan said, D-rates sometimes won't be allowed because so when you have 200 amps of breaker space, that panel is built to accommodate 200 amps of energy. So we, or the engineer, will do what's called a load calculation. So when the auditor goes into the home, and this is up front if you sell it right. So if you do the math and you realize, oh crap, I might need a panel upgrade. Well, instead of paying $3,500, I want to try a D-rate and pay $700. So if you put that in your notes up front, or you sell the job with the D-rate, when we do the audit, they're going to do what's called a load calculation. And they're going to go in and look at how many air conditioners do we have? Do we have a car charge? Do we have a pool pump? All that stuff, and see if it's okay to D-rate the breaker to 175. Because sometimes they won't allow that if there's too much load, as they call it in the house. Doesn't happen a lot where they can't do it, unless you get Jared's thing where Marietta sucks. And then Marietta is the only city I've had that happen, and I haven't had that happen anywhere else yet. So those are the things to watch for with the D-rate, but that's the easiest fix. Recently with our breaker shortage, We've also had some issues getting 175 amp breakers too, which has kind of held up stuff a little bit. So going back over here. So D-rate is number one. We can also overdrive inverters. So that's where you either drop down to the IQ7, the IQ8 Plus, or maybe go down a smaller solar edge inverter size. Just be cautious, like it says. Like if we go back up here, let's say we have a solar edge 3800. That means that the max energy that can go through that is 3,800 watts. So that's the maximum you're going to make at one time. Well, if you sold a 5.5 kilowatt system or 5,500 watt system, there's 3 or 4 hours a day where you should be outputting close to 5,000 watts, but it's only going to do 3,800 watts because that's all the inverter allows. That's what's called clipping. So just watch out for that. If you have, that's the training for another day, but watch out for that. And then this doesn't happen a lot in California. In fact, we have something called a Hawaiian tie-in that we've been doing recently, especially in San Diego. So in San Diego area, and I'm not sure about other parts of the country, a panel upgrade is like 4 or 5 months. It's a nightmare. It takes forever. So we've been doing something called a Hawaiian tie-in, which instead of spending 3,500 or 4,000 bucks on a panel upgrade, it's anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the installer, and it doesn't take nearly as much time. But it's not getting a customer any more breaker space or anything like that. If you're in that area and you have like a real time delay or a real budget problem, ask your project manager about doing a Hawaiian tie-in. Has anybody used that before?
I've heard of it, but what exactly is a Hawaiian tie-in? What are you manipulating there?
Long story short, from what I understand, is they're installing a sub panel that's 100 amps, and they're kind of pointing it towards the back of the main panel. So it kind of goes around it and can feed back. It requires extra engineering and stuff like that, but like I said, we can do it right away, and it's about $2,000, $1,000 to $2,000. So it's just the way around it. They're going to have another big ass sub panel on their wall, but man, it's time kills jobs. So if I can avoid
now you're working off of 100 amp breaker to do the math on. So like
no.
Does that work with the backbeat? So like, let's say you had a 200 bus bar, right? Which would be 240. And then you go 100 amp Hawaiian tie-in main breaker. Now you have 140 worth of amperage. Is that how that's working? Or
to be perfectly honest, brother, that is a great question that I don't know the answer to. So okay. I don't know who to ask, but I know on my personal job, it was for about a 17 kilowatt system that we were doing that on in San Diego. So 17 kilowatts has a lot of backfeed on there.
Okay. All right. And Colby said in the chat that Hawaiian tie-ins don't add backfeed. It's simply to create more breaker space. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Wouldn't you just do a sub panel at that point though for more breaker space?
I don't know, because a Hawaiian tie-in, from what I was told, was to avoid a panel upgrade, and a panel upgrade isn't giving us more breaker space. Real quick, one important thing to point out for people when doing a panel upgrade. A lot of people, I just had it happen the other day. A lot of people will say, cool, I need a panel upgrade because I'm having breakers tripping all the time, and this will give me more breaker space. A panel upgrade will not fix that. All we do is we remove the old panel, we replace the old breakers with new breakers that are the same size, and we put the new box on. If anything, that will make that problem worse, because older breakers are stuck in a place, and the whole reason a breaker trips is because it's trying to avoid your panel from catching on fire. So a breaker trips when there's too much energy going through it, and that's why it trips. Well, those older panels, those breakers might have been there for 20 years, so they might be rusted, they might be stuck. They don't trip so easy. You get a brand new panel like that, that shit trips real easy. So if somebody's complaining about that trouble, they're going to have to upgrade the panel and pay an electrician some money on the side to come and maybe move some wires around inside the panel as well. But when it's tripping, it just means there's too much energy rolling to one breaker. So maybe they can take the breaker that's tripping, take the wires out and plug them into another 20 amp breaker or something like that. But that's something that we don't fix if we do a panel upgrade. And if you set the expectation like, oh yeah, that problem will be fixed, they'll be really pissed when it gets worse. I know from experience because I've had that happen. So we don't really need to go over that. This doesn't really happen here, but a lot in Hawaii. I think it happens in Florida a lot. I'm not 100% sure. They can do something called a line side tap, where kind of the power goes around the panel and ties into the backside. In most parts of California, that's frowned upon without getting some expensive UL approvals and stuff like that. But I know it's a common practice elsewhere. Does anybody else want to chime in on that might have experience there?
I do, Paul. Yeah, I'm in Florida, and that is a common thing. I've had times where I sold a main panel upgrade, and engineering got back to me, and they're like, why? Why do we need to do that? We'll just do a line side tap. So yeah, it happens a lot here.
Okay. Cool, man. Love it. And then here's
Paul, can you explain like a line side tap? Does that just mean the energy is just going back straight to the utility and we're kind of bypassing the service panel, or what? How does that work?
It, like, from what I understand, it kind of taps into the bus bar side. So it doesn't go through the front, it goes through the back and directly back to the grid.
Is that what? So sometimes I heard of service panels being solar ready, where they tie in through the back. Is that just where it's just pretty much ready for a line side tap?
Yeah, Siemens makes a panel where there's a separate 100 amp solar breaker. And I don't know if that's set up as a line side tap, but whatever it is, it's freaking awesome. But it costs about $1,000, at least on a job I'm doing right now, where we did a panel upgrade. We're using that panel, and it added about $1,000 to the cost, but it had 100 amps of available backfeed on it, which was pretty freaking awesome. This page talks about a little bit more about a Hawaiian sign. So if you want to take a picture of it and study it a little bit more, that's totally cool. And other than that, that's it. So learn the math, real easy. It takes you 30 seconds and you'll look super smarter than everybody else.
Dude, right on, man. That can you guys show some love to Paul Leon in the chat? That was extremely informative. I'm sure you blew a lot of people's minds. Just that simple math, right? Just to break it back down, you take the bus rating, multiply it by 120%, subtract the main panel from there, and that's your amperage backfeed. And then we have a great calculator that you can plug that into to let you know exactly what your amperage is, and to avoid these main panel upgrades. Because I'll be honest, I can sell solar all day long, but you know, it sucks when you're just like, when they're like, oh, yeah, my panel, it may need to upgrade this. And I'm like, you know, we're going to go check that out when we do the site survey. And you just, it's weak. It's totally weak. And that's why I wanted to do this training, to get you guys all become professionals. Because yeah, you will win deals. I've actually had customers in the past when I said, hey, send me a picture of your electrical panel. They went with me because I was the only company that asked them to do that. Because they're like, man, you know what you're doing or what you're talking about. So this is incredible, man. I really appreciate you taking the time and teaching us this. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do, Jarrett. This is Doug in Florida here. A couple questions. So let's say you do this math and you realize, they're going to need something done, like a main panel upgrade. Is that where you're just proactive? You just tell them like, look, you're going to need it. Let's go ahead and put this in right up front. That way there are no surprises halfway through the deal.
Yes.
That's the best way to handle that.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I have a kind of alternate question. I've been with a couple of different companies. One, what they would do is every job included a main panel upgrade, whether it actually needed it or not. And their idea, well, it's a long story, but they subbed out to an electrical contractor they partnered with. So every job they did, this guy was getting work. Another thing is with Enphase, it's been my experience, at least here in Florida, that you really need a new panel if you want to do consumption monitoring. Like those CTs don't just seem to fit in any old, 10, 15, 20-year-old panel. So that was one of the pitches, like, look, we're going to do consumption monitoring for you. And everybody else struggled. Maybe it's because I'm in the panhandle and, there's a lot of redneckery going on here in the electrical side. So that might be a smart thing. But do you have any comments on that? Is it just like, hey, just, don't do that because it just makes it more expensive? There's really no benefit, right?
I'm not a bait and switcher at all. I will tell everybody till I'm blue in the face, this is what you need to do up front.
Yeah.
When I did this training for power a couple of years ago, at that time, 70% of the job delays and customer service issues were panel upgrades. And that was also leading to 70% of the reasons for cancellations from power. It's gotten better because we've done a lot of trainings on it, but there's nothing worse than getting 2 months in and then having a job cancel because we screwed up. Or if we know a panel upgrade's needed, there's other stuff. I mean, like I said, in San Diego, California, that's a 5-month process. We start that shit right away because you don't want to be 2 months in before someone says go. And then you're like, well, damn, dude, it's a half a year project. My rate's going to expire, all that stuff. And the selling it for every job. I mean, over here, the utility company has a website that shows your usage in most of California. So I never talk about consumption monitoring at all. I know how it works. And if a customer brings it up, I'll tell them, man, because over here, some cities don't even allow it. They will not let you put anything on the utility side of the panel, which is where those CTs go. So I don't even bring it up. If someone gets it, cool. And if someone brings it up after the fact, I'm like, listen, I don't bring it up because that's not something that's offered unless it's doable. 80% of panels don't qualify and 90% of cities don't allow it. So I don't know what it's like in Florida.
That's
real quick.
I'm selling in California, so that's really good info.
Yeah. Doug, I don't mean to cut you off, but we do need to move on. We're going to go ahead and Chris put together a spreadsheet. I know for sake of time, we're kind of running up against it, but this is very important. We do want to share this. Chris, I'm going to go ahead. Paul, if you want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen, then Chris can bring it up. Chris and Tom both have put together spreadsheets where you can enter in the data to see whether you need an upgrade or not. Chris, go ahead. Why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thanks, Jarrett. And if anyone's slightly confused, trust me, I've been doing this 2 years and learned a ton from my brother and Paul, and electrical still confuses me. And I'm a very technical numbers guy. So in the chat here is the spreadsheet. If any of you guys want to make a copy, click file, make a copy. Do not click request access or anything like that. Just click file, make a copy if you want to make a copy. So we have 2 tabs in this spreadsheet here. The first one is Tom Cotter's, and he has a very great visual layout, whatever the main breaker and the bus are. So you can see a lot of common ones, 100, 125, 200, 200. And Paul Leon, I wanted to ask, how often do you find that the main is different than the bus? Is that pretty rare? Is Paul still there?
Say 10%.
He probably ran to the bathroom.
Sorry, man. Paul ran to the bathroom.
Okay. Well, normally I find if you don't know what the bus is or the sticker is gone or whatnot, you can just assume that it's the same as the main breaker. So if it's a 120,
that's exactly what they do.
Perfect.
But not always the case.
Got it. Okay, so on this little cheat sheet right here, guys, you can see very common the main breaker and the bus, either 100 or 200 or 125, and it basically shows you on the right here what's allowed. So if they have a 200 amp, for example, they can do 26 IQ8 pluses or 23 IQ8Ms or 22 IQ8As, or they can do up to a 9.5 kilowatt system size with the SolarEdge 7600. Beyond that, we'll probably need either a D rate or a main panel upgrade to possibly a 225 amp, which can then get you even more, as you can see here. Now, if someone has a 200 amp panel, you could theoretically derate it to 175 amp if possible, if it's allowed. And that will also fit more. So this is Tom's chart that he put together for everyone that shows you the allowable backfeed. Myself, on the second tab, I made a little cheat sheet for myself. And basically all I do here is the main bus and the main breaker in yellow is what you change. So if someone has 150 amp panel, I just put 150, 150. And this tells me how many panels I can fit for the IQ8s or for what SolarEdge inverter and system size. So quite often, if someone has a 200 amp panel, you know, and here's some common, you know, max is at 200, 200, you can fit a 7600 SolarEdge or 26 IQ8 pluses. And so oftentimes what I'm doing is when I'm looking at someone's proposal, if they have a 200 amp panel, and guys, always try to ask people, the homeowner, for a picture of their electric panel before you jump on Zoom with them, ideally. And I'll put in the chat the message I send to a homeowner to ask them to send me a picture before we jump on Zoom. That way I know, that way I can open up this cheat sheet. That way I can go ahead and build in a D-rate if I need to, or an MPU. And so if I know they already have a 200 amp, well, boom, I know that they can fit up to 26 IQ8 pluses. So guys, if you're ever doing a system bigger than 26 panels, even with a 200 amp, you're going to need to add a D-rate onto the adder. So I'm putting a D-rate on here quite often if I have over 26 panels, even if they have a 200 amp. And in that case, the D-rate here, this second number, is what you would play with. So I could then say, hey, this is only fits 26 panels, so maybe I can do a D-rate. Okay, let's D-rate it down to 175. I'm going to put 175 there, and boom, this now tells me how many panels I can now fit with that D-rate, because that's going to increase the allowable backfeed. So this is my little cheat sheet that I kind of created. So Paul's is on the first tab, mine's on the second tab if you want to play with the numbers as well. And Paul, how often is the main breaker different from the bus? Is that super rare, or is that?
No, almost all the time. Like, I'd say like 70, 80% of the time. Oh, I'm sorry. How often is it different?
Is it already different? Yeah.
Oh, very rarely, like maybe 20, 30% of the time. Like on new homes, a lot, it's different. But you always got to check, because then you get all happy because you don't need a panel upgrade.
Got it. And can we do a D-rate if they're using a ton of their panel already, or maybe they even have an electric car? Would that make a D-rate, you know, harder to do or not possible in that situation?
Yeah, because they're going to calculate the load, like we had said earlier. So if you're in a house and you see if they got multiple air conditioners, they're probably not going to allow it. But if you have an air conditioner, an electric vehicle charger, a pool, just if you see a house with a lot of stuff, we're probably not going to be able to do it.
Probably not going to do a D-rate. So, and I just had this happen on one of my projects. He needs a 225 amp. He told me he has a 200 amp. So I thought, okay, he probably doesn't need an MPU, but turns out he needed a 225 amp upgrade, which sucks. And then one thing, guys, I just asked Paul about the other day was for this project where in their garage, they have a sub panel with 100 amps. And I asked Paul, how many panels can I fit on here? And the same math applies. If they have 100 amp sub panel in the garage right here, okay, then I'll just do 100. And now I know I can fit up to 13 panels on the garage. I was actually going to try to put more, but you know, Paul explained to me that the math, it still applies. Even if it's on a garage and there's a sub panel there, the backfeed, the math, it all still applies for that sub panel. So thanks for helping me with that, Paul. But yeah,
Paul, what you put in the chat, because everybody's thinking, well, why don't you just upgrade the bus bar, make that higher, right? That is upgrading the main panel. When you cannot D-rate and go lower and the bus rating needs to go higher, that equates a main panel upgrade, correct? All right.
Jared, if I can jump in, what I'm not asking on a Zinsco panel, the issue why they don't like them is because they're aluminum bus bars, and aluminum vibrates. So the reason why they don't like that is they want to switch it to copper. But in PG&E territory, we can't upgrade. We can't even do like for likes anymore. So just trying to find a solution.
As of right now, bro, I haven't heard of one. I've never heard of a situation where you can upgrade a bus bar.
Hey, Owen, we're doing that twice here in the Bay Area, and we're going to do
upgrading a bus bar.
Hawaiian tie. No, we're doing a complete replacement of the Zinsco for like. City of San Jose says okay. City of Milpitas says okay. It's just a 100 amp main, replacing a 100 amp main. PG&E may have us move it, but they haven't told us yet.
They suck.
Because they changed the like for like rule, because even if you were within the gas meter, you used to be able to do it, but they changed it in June. So even if you're just doing 125 for another 125, you have to move the meter now, which is ridiculous.
Whoa, say that again.
So if you have a 125 Zinsco panel and you want to upgrade it because it's an older panel, I think it's all silly. They let people put hot tubs on them, but we can't do backfeed. I digress. But you cannot do a like for like anymore if it's within the gas meter. So if you want to do a like for like, now you have to move the panel as well, just for a like for like.
Yeah, in Edison and San Diego Gas and Electric, if you're doing an upgrade and it's within 3 feet of the gas meter, you got to move it almost all the time. You know what, guys? Let me go back real quick. So, in Edison, PG&E, and San Diego Gas and Electric, at least in California, we can also do something called a GMA, which is a generation meter adapter or something like that. Kind of like a line side line-side tap, but it's a device that the utility comes and installs. Some areas don't allow it, but it's very rare. And I think as long as you have under 65 backfeed amps, the utility will do that. And it costs about $1,500 to $2,000. And the only thing is it's a time thing. So it's like in Edison, it takes about 2 months extra to do that, but it's cheaper than a $3,500 panel upgrade. It's called a GMA. It's normally one of the adders under electrical. As long as you don't use TAC Electric, because TAC Electric will charge you like $10,000 for that.
I wanted to also just emphasize to everyone on the call that setting expectations with your customer is so important. If you do find that you'll need a D-rate, let the customer know, hey, you may need some electrical work. We're going to cover it. There's a chance we're going to have to upgrade your entire electric panel. Our engineers will determine that. Say something like that. That's what I do. I don't know as many technical details as Paul, if I'm being honest. So that's kind of what I typically say, but you want to set those expectations, because in a month, if the site survey and the engineer comes back and you have to do an MPU, now you're $3,000, $3,600. You have to figure out whether to go back to the customer or not. That sucks. So setting proper expectations, using these calculators, getting a picture of their panel beforehand and knowing what to expect is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that, Chris, setting the proper expectations. And this is why we're doing high-level training here at Power, right? Showing you guys how to avoid these MPUs, what to say, what to look out for. So great stuff. David, Davis, did you have a quick question before we wrap this up?
Yeah, super quick. I've got a customer, they have a rental unit. So there's 2 150 amp panels, and I'm not exactly sure what the bus bar is, because each panel for the unit above, upstairs and downstairs, is divided with the top, the main, which is 150 amps. So would the whole system be 150, or would you add them in this case?
Paul?
Is that a duplex, 2 separate units, 2 separate meters, Davis, or is that?
Right, exactly. It's technically 2 addresses, but it's a condo. And so he owns upstairs and downstairs.
And are you guys are you tying them both in to both meters? Are you guys doing like aggregate metering or? Guess we'll
Davis, your connection's bad, bro.
Yeah, he's on. But...
He's in his van, like in Guatemala, actually. So that's where he's selling deals.
Living the dream. I love that.
I think I know what he's talking about though, because I had something similar. It probably is a 200 amp main with 100 amp split. Is that right, Davis?
He couldn't find the like main breaker or the bus breaker. Each breaker, the one upstairs and downstairs, each says 150 amps. So I'm not really sure, but yeah, he doesn't even have that many panels. So
is that all on the same meter?
No, it's two separate meters. It's two addresses. So each of them have their own utility, I believe, their own account, but he pays both and he rents them. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Wouldn't that be two separate projects?
Yeah,
maybe that would be an offline call, just because for timing, because we're getting
Davis, I know you're on my team. Shoot me a text, we'll connect on that one.
Sounds good.
All right,
you guys. Yeah, no, with that being said, it's 11:17. Paul, super appreciate you, brother, coming on, taking the time, teaching power team, breaking it down. Seriously, man.
Thanks for that spreadsheet, Chris. That was good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris, Tom, everybody providing tremendous value. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this recording and then stick around for power hitters. We're going to do office hour here after this, and we'll run it till noon. So with that being said, peace.